Welcome to Learning Out Loud, a space for honest conversation as life is happening. I'm Kate, and this podcast is about the moments that shape us, the stress, the growth, the uncertainty, and the lessons we only learn by living them. Now, I'm not here as an expert with all the answers. I'm here learning in real time, sharing what I'm discovering whilst holding space for those figuring it out too. So, wherever you're listening, walking, driving, or just taking a moment for yourself, I'm really glad you're here. Let's learn out loud together. I'm going to start this episode off with a little bit of honesty. The last few weeks have been really challenging for me. And truthfully, I have tried to film this episode a few times, and each time my mic's either not worked or my camera's stopped working. And overall, I've just felt a little bit hypocritical because some of the topics I wanted to talk about just didn't feel authentic with the way that I was feeling at the time. So I took a little bit of time for myself, but it brought me right back to what this podcast is about. It isn't about perfection, it isn't about structure, it's about learning in real time and just being really vulnerable. So yeah, the last few weeks have been very difficult. Anybody that's been watching these podcasts or following my life recently knows that currently in a very uncertain time here in Dubai. And yeah, it's definitely started to take its mental toll on me. Now, obviously, my external world still seems really normal. The sun's shining. I've had a smile on my face. I've been doing the things I'd normally do. Actually speaking, I've had such a lovely time these last few weeks, and I've had so much time for myself with everything going on and slowing down. But internally is where the damage has been done. Where I first noticed this was my mornings. Now, if anybody knows me, they know that I am the biggest morning person ever. I'm up at the crack of dawn, full of energy, ready to go. I found myself hitting the snooze button one too many times, which is so abnormal for me because normally my circadian rhythm is so in check that I don't even need an alarm. So for me to be hitting snooze on said alarm is unlike myself. And at first I thought, well, maybe I'm just a bit more tired, like just need a bit more sleep. Maybe I should start going to bed earlier. And then when I thought about it, I was like, actually, like for somebody that was moaning that she didn't have much of a sleep schedule when she first moved here, like I'm going to bed pretty early and I'm waking up at a decent time. Like I've had a lot of sleep. In fact, I've had more sleep and I'm not as exhausted as normal because things haven't been as busy as they usually are. And that's when I sort of thought to myself, I think I'm trying to avoid something. Yeah, I had to start this whole process by being honest, which is what I've always said, and really assessing myself, right, what does this mean? Why are you struggling to wake up in the morning? And I realized in the end I wasn't avoiding what I was going to do that day because it was things that I would be enjoying. It was gym classes, it was going to work, it was seeing my friends. I had all of these reasons to wake up in the morning. However, it was the emotional and the mental side of the reality of what was going on that I was just avoiding, because each day it was another day of uncertainty. It was another day of not knowing. It was another day of often disappointments as well, because there have been a lot of bullets that I have taken the last few weeks, which I'll get into a little bit later. And yeah, I think I was just kind of like, oh, do I really want to live the reality of today? Like, do I want to sugarcoat things and pretend things are okay when they're not? And yeah, I really just started to struggle in the morning. So I whipped myself into shape very, very quickly. I gave myself no option but to start a new routine. And that definitely helped temporarily. But outside of that, there was still so much going on that still made the days themselves quite challenging. Now, obviously, in this whole situation, I've experienced a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear as well. I mean, the early days of this all happening, I think I can speak for everybody, was probably the one and only time I've genuinely questioned my safety and thinking like, oh my goodness, I think my life's going to end. Like, oh no, like this is the kind of stuff we learn at school. Like, never thought this was going to be my reality. And yeah, I think I can speak for everybody. That was probably the most fearful weekend / few weeks of my life. Now, fortunately, the interceptions have definitely quietened down. We're currently undergoing a ceasefire, and hopefully things will start to pick up and be on the straight and narrow, but none of us really know. We can only hope. I've obviously had the media. I've had family ringing me like, please, Kate, like we're hearing all this, that you need to come home. I've seen people leave daily. And unfortunately for me, some of the most impactful and important people in this entire journey have unfortunately gone home. And that was the hardest thing for me. It's one thing watching people leave and fighting that temptation of following the crowd, like, well, everyone else is leaving, should I? Like, am I okay staying here? Like, do I stick with the minority or follow the majority? Like, what do I do? And yeah, then seeing two of the people that have genuinely like kept me so grounded and helped me really just cope whilst being here leave was just like, oh my goodness, like if they're going, like, am I being silly staying? But each time my family were ringing me asking me to go home, I started to put my life on a pedestal and think, well, actually, like, the thought of going right back to familiarity, comfortability, and what I came from scares me more than the thought of sticking through this uncertain period for what could potentially be on the other side. And in fact, not even that, just what is here in the present. Even with everything going on, there's still so much beauty in it. There's still so much growth, so many lessons, and so much opportunity within all of this. It almost felt like it would be a loss going backwards. So yeah, I've been fighting some very big internal battles in my brain and making some of the biggest decisions I have ever had to make. Like, even in the last 3 days specifically, like, I've just been put in some really challenging situations where I've really had to think, like, am I doing the right thing? Like, what is this all meant to mean? Like, what do I do? And yeah, I've definitely learned a lot about my growth in terms of how much I trust myself, how much I trust my calling, and being able to actually sit with discomfort and not run away from it. And most importantly, what I've learned is that the blueprints that I've set out within these podcasts really do work. And I think for me in this situation, like, it's so telling because this has been such a scary, fearful, and uncertain time. Yet my mindset and my perspective and approach towards it has been so strong and so intentional that even when it's gotten so painfully hard, I've just stuck to it and I've trusted it, and I've still managed to come out with a smile on my face, learning a lesson and being able to take that forward with me. So yeah, morning's been difficult, letting go of friends that I genuinely am just like still trying to process now. I literally felt like my heart was ripped out of my body. But it's also taught me that actually, yes, people can come in and they can help you in seasons and be the most important thing to you. But when they're gone, what have you got? And it's taught me that actually I'm in such an overflow of the people I have around me, like the support I have, the love I have, like just everything about my life here is so abundant that even when those things are taken away, I'm still happy where I am. I think that's so beautiful to reflect on because there were so many times in my life where I wasn't happy with just me. I wasn't happy with just my life and everything like that. And I was scared that if I lost that, I'd never find it again. But I think I'm so confident now in you attract what you are, and that anywhere I go, the right things will find me. And things that I lose don't necessarily mean they're not meant for me, but they're just seasonal. Like sometimes things are taken away. And yeah, there's just been a lot of revelation in that. And it definitely makes me feel really lucky when I think back on it that I've been able to have those people. It's always like, it's like Ed Sheeran says in his song, a heart that's been broke is a heart that's been loved, you know? And how blessed am I to have had those connections, had those people at the time that I needed them. So yeah, that's definitely been challenging. But throughout all of this that's been going on, you would have seen a little four-legged friend in the beginning of the video. I was so intentionally met with little Benny a few weeks back, right when all of this really started to take its toll on me. I remember in my prayer, I was saying, I don't feel lonely, I just feel alone in this. Like, I feel like I'm battling all of this in my brain. I've got people that I can offload to, but everybody's in the same situation. And the ones that I want to offload to aren't in this situation, so don't really understand. And even when you take all of that away and ignore all of that, I live by myself and I'm doing it on my own. Like, the physical art of doing it, I'm doing it on my own. I may have people beside me, but theoretically and literally speaking, I am one and I am going through this on my own. And yeah, next thing you know, I'm at work. I get a phone call from my friend and he rings me and he says, Kate, I'm with a bunch of puppies right now. Come and give them a cuddle. Like, I know this is what you need. Like, come over. Straight away, I'm like, absolutely. I'm like, are you joking? I want one. I was like, talk about cuddling one. I want one. Yeah, I went to see them, and that is when I was met so intentionally with Benny. When I arrived, I was told, there was one left and he hasn't been picked, but all the others have found their owners and stuff. And I actually thought Benny was another dog at first because everybody was cuddling a puppy and there was this one on the floor. So I picked that one up thinking, oh my goodness, this must be the one that's left. And then I was told, no, that one's been adopted. The person's just not here. They're collecting him later. And I was like, so where's this one that's not been picked then? And then I was taken to the sofa and tucked in a little corner away from everybody, not getting any fuss, nothing, was Benny. And it was literally in that moment I was like, oh my goodness, like I think I'm in love with this thing. And I picked him up, I gave him a cuddle, and slowly but surely he burst into life. He was playing with his siblings, and he just honestly became the most infectiously cute, loving little puppy. And I just fell in love, absolutely fell in love. And I kept thinking as I was cuddling him, like, is this a good idea? Like, there's a lot going on. Like, come on, Kate, like, you'd fall in love with any puppy. Like, let's make sure we're not making any rational decisions. And in the end, I bit the bullet and I was just like, do you know what? This was so intentional. Like, I needed him. I've met him. He's gelled with me. He's the last one left. Like, if this is not a sign, I'm going to manipulate myself into thinking it as a sign. I'm going to have him. Thank you. So I took him and he has settled so well. He is honestly a dream. We're in the process of training at the moment. He's honestly just so much more than a dog to me. He's given me purpose in the mornings. As I said, the mornings were a struggle, getting out of bed and finding purpose. Like, even if I was forcing myself to smell the roses and see the good, it was still dwelling on me, like all of those feelings of like, oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And now I wake up in the morning, no issue. I'm right on my walk, I'm feeding him. I've had like 10 different wins in the morning because I'm like, like he sat when I told him to sit. He went on his walk. He was happy. He ate his dinner. He weed on his mat. Like, I'm just all of a sudden waking up with all of these like wins all of a sudden. And he also, for me, gives me something to look after. Like, I am a person that loves self-care. I love looking after myself, and I think it's hugely important. But I thrive better when looking after something else. And even in my work, I am better leading people than I am doing it myself. I still do it myself. I'm still good at doing it myself, but the stimulation comes from doing it for others. So that is just the way I've always been. Now I've got another life to look after. All of a sudden, my days just have so much more purpose. Like, even if it's unrelated to anything else before. So yeah, he has genuinely been so much more than a dog. I think just for myself, for my friends, like he really has just been this like heart for all of us in such a chaotic time. He's just been able to give us this breath of fresh air, and it's like near impossible to be stressed and upset when this little puppy's licking your face, and it's just incredible. Like, I genuinely, he is such a blessing, and I'm so thankful that he was brought into my life during such a difficult time. So as I said, within this, all of this chaos that was going on, I've had all of these great epiphanies, these amazing encounters, and all of this luck that's been thrown onto me, whilst at the same time I've internally felt like I've been taking a million bullets. Life has actually been presenting me a lot of good, and it took me a while to realize that. And once I kind of zoomed out and saw the bigger picture, I started to realize, do you know what, actually, like, I'm really proud of myself, first of all, for sticking through it, not following the crowd, really trusting my gut and my intuition, but also because these fundamentals that I repeat constantly and that I put out to you guys really do work. Like, I have been put in some of the most difficult and challenging positions, but I have stuck and I've practiced what I've preached, not always perfectly, because as I said, prime example, I didn't come on here for 3 weeks because I wasn't sure what to say. And I was avoiding being honest and vulnerable, which smack on the wrist for me, I won't do again. But also at the same time, it is important to take time for yourself. And I've always wanted to just output authentically. So I think in a way this was meant to happen because I wouldn't have had this honest conversation with you guys in such depth. So I've now got an abundance to speak about, which is amazing. I've been blessed with a lot throughout this. And as hard as it is to see sometimes, in the tough times, if you can just zoom out, see the bigger picture for what it is currently, but also trust that better is coming. Now, it might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, it could be 6 months from now, 6 years from now. But if you can just trust and believe without seeing it, it changes the game when you're coping with difficult seasons. Now, something really symbolic for me has been trees. Recently, trees have come up in a lot of conversations. I've noticed them a lot more as I'm walking around, and obviously Dubai isn't the most green place, but where I live specifically, it's lovely and green, and it's just definitely what brings people to this area. Yeah, trees have been very symbolic. And even the other day, I was speaking to my friend, and he was talking about pruning seasons and how we all have a season where sometimes things are cut off and let go because it's making room for growth, it's making room for bigger things. And what was even more symbolic when you think about a tree are the roots that are underground. Now, if you think of yourself as a tree, the root is the work that you do when nobody sees it. And for me, that was this internal battle that I was going through. On the outside, I was smiling, I was still dressing up for work, bringing the optimism, trying my best to just hold myself together. But deep down in the root of what was going on, I was really struggling, trying to find my way through and find solid ground to cling on to in order for the growth to still happen in such an unstable and uncertain time, it made me think, like, in those moments where I'm by myself, what am I doing to help? When I'm coming on here and talking about mindset and talking about this and that, there's a purpose. But when that purpose is taken away, the camera's gone and the people aren't around, what am I doing in order to strengthen my roots? And I started to look on the outside. So I saw my body as the trunk of the tree, and I see the stems as these solids, but the not permanents, right? You've got your family, you've got your career, your location, like those things that can change and don't always stay, but are pretty much like as solid as they can be, right? And then on those stems, you've got little leaves. And these come in the form of friends. Now, I was toying between the idea of calling friends a stem or a leaf, but I really do think friends are leaves. Some leaves stay green throughout all seasons. Some of them stay, and if you nurture them well and look after them, even in the darkest, most terrible seasons, they stay. But other times, you can try your best to do everything, but the sun scorches them, they fall off and they're gone, right? You make space for new. So I think of friends and people and opportunities as little leaves, because some of them stick, some of them don't. And then I started to imagine that tree in a pruning season. God's cutting things off, and even things that I'm really holding on to, it's like half green, half brown. And I'm like, oh, I'm really trying. And it's like, no, I need to just let it go brown and fall off so that, it can be replaced with something new. And by seeing it like that, it really helped me to understand that. Because at first I was just thinking, I'm just taking a bunch of bullets. Like, what do you mean you're taking my friends from me? You're taking this from me. Like, deals are falling out of bed. This is uncertain. That's uncertain. Like all of these things were just piling on top of me. And once I started seeing them as, hold on, Kate, things aren't being taken away from you because you've done something wrong or they're bad. Sometimes in life, we need to be pruned to prepare ourselves for where we're headed. And I started to go, okay, so if I just trust that these things are going for another reason, then actually, is it that bad? It's not always easy to think like that. I think it definitely helps because I'm so faithful. I'm so kind of driven by my love and understanding for God's hand on my life that I really do see the bigger picture in these, and I see the more spiritual side of things when this sort of stuff happens. In life, you need to trust that things are going to come and go. But losing things isn't always a punishment. It's not because you're deserving of it. And, sometimes the worst things in life happen to the best people. And you know why? It's because God knows that you can part with that. Like you can get through it. The devil makes life easy for a reason, because he wants people to follow him. So the best people in life really do go through the worst. And it's actually a compliment, I've learned purpose in the mornings, importance of routine, seeing the bigger picture, smelling the roses, understanding that even the toughest losses sometimes will always make you grow in the future. And I've really learned to just reiterate and practice what I preach in terms of these blueprints that I set out, because they really do work. I wouldn't give advice if it wasn't going to actually help. And taking 3 weeks off of these podcasts as evidence of that. If I don't feel authentic in what I'm saying, I just don't say it. I feel wrong to be talking about something that I'm personally not doing myself or haven't benefited from myself as well. And most importantly, just be honest with yourself, because I'm guilty of it. I'm very guilty of it. I can be honest in quiet, but I still reserve certain things and hold things back from certain people because I don't want to present myself a certain way. I don't want to be vulnerable around certain people. And I also sometimes don't want to admit what's going on because I think it then makes the reality stronger. And I almost want to just like not shed light on it. So definitely learning my own little teething problems for sure. But yeah, I've woken up today feeling a lot fresher, a lot more inspired, a lot more ready to just take on what's going on. It's not changed and it's not going to change for a while. But all I can do in this moment is just stay true to myself, keep trusting the plan, and also just be honest and use this platform not only just to talk to others, but also just to hear myself speak sometimes. It's a space for me as well. And I'm thankful and thank you for giving me this space to actually speak what's on my mind. And I love the messages as well, and obviously a lot of you that watch are genuinely like my closest friends, and I love it because the support is just insane, and I love all the conversations after, and it's just really beautiful. So for me, it's that accountability of knowing that my wisdom can help others, but it can also help myself. And yeah, these times are challenging, they're uncertain, but if you can see the bigger picture and the good in a bad situation, and if you can be excited for the discomfort, almost crave that need for growth without running away from things. Like, you do not have to change things in order to grow all the time. Sometimes it is just about being vulnerable with yourself and others, allowing things to go when they need to go, even if you want to hold on to them with like every last ounce of you and leave like scratch marks from clinging onto them. Chase the discomfort in every scenario. And whilst you're young as well, and even if you're not so young, even if you're coming to this conclusion like much later on in life, like, just challenge yourself as much as you can, because knowledge is priceless. Like, this whole situation is so unique. I'd have never have experienced this had I have moved, ever. And now I can go into my next stage of life and the next challenges with such an abundance of wisdom and evidence in my brain of, well, you got through that, so I think you can survive this. Like, it's incredible when you think about it. Like, these bad things that happen, like, there is good that comes from it, and even if we can't tangibly see it and it's not right there in front of us, like, it's the mental that we have to hold on to us, and the knowledge that we can, even if it doesn't necessarily end good for us, that wisdom can then be used on somebody else, which can then provide good for them, which all in all comes back into you anyway. So I feel like there was no structure to this conversation today. It really was just like a verbal dump for me to just assess what had gone on, but also speak of the revelation, hopefully help you guys as well if you're ever, not to say that I'd ever put you in this situation, but but it could be that you can take parts of this and use it in your own life, or reflect on where you're at and what you could be doing better. And yeah, I think most importantly, just trust yourself. Stick by me as well, because as I always say, I'm really learning out loud with you guys, and life is challenging. Okay, life is always going to be tough, and it really is just about the mindset that you choose to take in it, because figuring all of this out doesn't mean that life all of a sudden becomes perfect. Things are still going to happen, and as I said, sometimes the most righteous people are the ones that experience the most. So take it as a compliment, hold yourself high, see the value in every struggle, and just keep chasing it, because the more discomfort you chase, the more comfortable you become with it, and the easier these situations become. So I'm really proud of you, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. What I'd really like people to start doing as well, I mean, the ones that are messaging me privately, I love it, but definitely leave a comment if there's something that's on your heart, something that you want me to speak about, or genuinely something that resonates with you throughout this episode. Feel free to drop it down below. I'd love to see what you guys think. And yeah, other than that, keep learning out loud with me. Thank you again for this space and allowing me to talk freely, and I'll catch you next time.